Please join me in welcoming Rick Dildine.
Thank you so much. This is William Shakespeare. He's dead. He's one of the most famous playwrights in the English language, but he's not exactly cutting edge. So my challenge is, how do you stay relevant with a guy who's been dead since 1616? How do you take 17th century British text and animate 21st century American neighborhoods? At Shakespeare Festival St. Louis, we've made a commitment to producing unexpected theater in the schools, in the streets, and in the park. Now, those are personal venues that immediately connect to an individual. Our In the Schools program reach over 25,000 young people a year. Our flagship free Shakespeare play in Forest Park has a nightly attendance of over 3,000 people. And over the past 4 years, we've made a commitment to taking our work to the streets, because here's something we believe: that arts institutions most connected to the hopes and dreams of their communities can thrive no matter how scarce financial resources are or how competitive the marketplace becomes. To be relevant as a theater company within our city, we had to identify the assumptions around Shakespeare, St. Louis, our institutions, and choose to rewrite them. And Shakespeare has a lot of assumptions. It's old, it's boring, it's confusing. And St. Louis, people don't mix. The boundary lines are clearly drawn. And you put that with an institution whose budget is made up of over 90% contributed income, and an audience that had flatlined 4 years ago. If we wanted to keep this happening, we knew we had to change business as usual. If we're going to thrive in a new economy, we had to make some changes. So over the past 4 years, we've been able to successfully co-create on small and large scales with our community. And today, I'm going to share with you three simple principles that you can take back with your communities. Number one, embrace uncertainty. You have to be okay with not knowing what's going to happen. You have to be okay with not knowing what the product will be. You're going to feel adrift at times. In 2010, I created Shake 38. So now Shakespeare is credited with writing 38 plays. Now, some say as many as 43, some say as few as 0. We picked 38, okay? All of them are in the public domain. So I said, what if we gave away the entire canon to the public? All 38 plays in 38 hours in 38 different locations. Only one rule: make the play happen any way you see fit. Act, sing, dance, draw, the whole play or a 5-minute version. The only rule: make it happen any way you see fit. The first year we had over 200 participants make the 38-hour marathon happen. Every hour on the hour, and I went to every single one of them. I found myself in someplace new. Bars, rooftops, street corners, galleries, top of food trucks. There was a group of women in South St. Louis who were working out at a gym and reading Measure for Measure, and every time the scene changed, they changed equipment. A biker bar in South St. Louis, me at a biker bar, reading Julius Caesar at the bar with bikers. An underground dinner where every single course was inspired by different scenes from Henry V. And then an independent bookstore organized its entire neighborhood in an entire day's preparation of a meal. Throughout the day, residents would stop by and help with each course, and it culminated in a public reading of Titus Andronicus and a pig roast. It was a theatrical scavenger hunt throughout the city. 4 years later, this event has grown to a 5-day event and features over 1,500 performers from across the region. It's an invitation to the party. It asks them, what does this play mean to you? This year, the National Endowment for the Arts and St. Louis's Regional Arts Commission have just announced that they're going to underwrite Shake38.com. So this small idea that's gone to Shake38.com, which is going to be a global catch-all for all things Shakespeare. I mean, this is YouTube meets Twitter, meets Tumblr, meets Instagram, meets GarageBand. It's making the play happen any way you see fit. It brings people from around the world and says, what do you think this play is? And inspires global collaborations. You know, I think a lot of times we assume that our audiences want us to take them on this journey. And what we're proposing is to let them take you on one. Embrace uncertainty. The next one, get to the table. If you want to be successful in animating neighborhoods, you must connect your own well-being to the hopes and dreams of your community. And that means you have to be at the table. As I mentioned, St. Louis is a very segregated city. Our streets are dividing lines. When I arrived in 2009, I was immediately struck by the number of dead-end streets. Over the past 50 years, the Board of Aldermen have shut down over 260 city streets with chunks of concrete that one citizen called fundamentally undemocratic barriers akin to segregation. On April 27, 2012, The New World premiered at the corner of Cherokee and California streets in the Benton Park neighborhood. We shut down a city street in the name of community and Shakespeare, not crime control. A neighborhood where the residents are primarily African American, living below the poverty line. Most of the businesses are owned by the Hispanic community. And then you've got this new wave of white hipster artists moving in, setting up shop, creating work, using Shakespeare's The Tempest and real St. Louis as inspiration. This new play starred the residents of Cherokee Street. Local artists made the sets, and we gave a rule for ourselves. Anything we need for the show, we're going to mine it from the community. We turned the neighborhood into a destination. We used the theater to become an economic engine for business. The Tempest was replaced by a tornado. The ocean became the Mississippi River. And it was chock full of politics and created a environment what the residents called their own version of Sesame Street. This past year, we did it again. Shakespeare in the Streets in the Grove. A neighborhood split down the middle by a street that 50 years ago was referred to as a red line. Blacks to the north, whites to the south. And today, that neighborhood has been inspired by the LGBT community who are starting restaurants, starting bars, nightclubs. And throughout all of this tension, the residents were continually inspired by the neighborhood's willingness to forgive. So using Shakespeare's The Winter's Tale, we created a play that included the most diverse cast I have ever seen in St. Louis. Diverse in race, age, sexuality, zip code, professional, amateur. Miss Gay Missouri played time, for God's sakes. Attendance tripled over the first year to this year to over 2,000 people watching the show on the streets. We pinned our success to our community's hopes and dreams. We have to be at the table next to business and government. If we want our cities to succeed, we need an arts and culture plan. Get to your community business association meetings, get to the neighborhood meetings, because, as my grandmother once told me, if you're not at the table, you might be on the menu. The last lesson, you've heard this before, stick to what you know. We learned this one the hard way. I think we went into the neighborhoods thinking we had like little baby Shakespeare all swathed up in cloth and like we're going to save all their problems. And they saved us from ourselves. They didn't need to be fixed. They had figured it out. It was our job to tell the story. That's the tool we have as storytellers, to tell the story, to show this bright spot to the rest of the community. For anyone that's out there that may be skeptics about animating neighborhoods and making theater in this way, here's what I want to say to you. Making theater with your community, it doesn't mean you're making community theater. This is some of the most dynamic, most exciting, most thrilling work that we're doing, and it's paying off. Since this bold shift in engagement, our main stage attendance has grown over 30% over the past 4 years. Our budget in 2009, $1 million in contributed income. Today, $1.7 million in contributed income. It's not bad for a 400-year-old dead guy. If more companies made this commitment, I think we'd see dramatically more support for the arts. When residents hear their voices in stories, they immediately feel the impact of their voice in the greater conversation. Last week I spent the week last week riding around with the St. Louis Metro Police Department in an area that is impoverished, and walking and driving through and seeing stories of poverty, food deserts, hunger. It makes me think, I cannot help but think that this type of work can help solve larger issues in every single one of our communities. We can't do this alone. There was a conversation earlier about funders. We're very fortunate in St. Louis that we have some funders that are forward-thinking, and they've stepped up behind us. Regional Arts Commission, the Whitaker Foundation. as you go back to your communities, I hope this gives you a little bit of advice and gives you a little bit of inspiration to go back and make some community theater. Thank you.